Hey everybody, welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Thank you so much for being here. And if you are returning, you all mean the world to me. I appreciate you. So happy you're here. Today is a collaboration with my sweet friend Jackie from Jackie Burns Creations. We are doing projects with wood today. So let's go ahead and get right on into it.
DIY number 1. This is, well, I guess some would consider it trash. It was from packaging from a fireplace, and I kept it. But it's a nice solid piece of wood. I gave it a coat of my Adirondack white chalk paint, and now I am drawing just a squiggly line to represent a string of lights. And I'm going to go ahead and add some light bulbs to my string. And I started doing this. I got the first one on, and then I started to do the second one, and I quickly realized that I really wanted them to be a little bit uniform in size and shape, and so I needed a pattern. So I went ahead and grabbed a piece of my parchment paper that I could use to trace the one, and then use it to duplicate that same size and shape light across my string of lights. And I do that by just scribbling on the back side of it and then tracing over it again. So you can kind of see me here scribbling on it, and then I'll use that, flip it over, line it up with my little squiggly line where I want to have it, and then go ahead and trace over the line again. And I did that all the way down along the string until I had 10 of them. And now I am just going to very lightly write in the words that I want to have on this, and it will all become much more visible shortly. I was just going really lightly with my pencil to get myself all situated because I didn't really trust myself to come in straight away with the paint marker. Pencil is much easier to erase. So you can always repaint things if you have an oopsie, but I'd rather be able to just erase it and have a guideline to go with. So now I have my string of little lights, and I'm going to go ahead and pull out my drill. I'm looking for a drill bit that is going to be the same width as my little light bulbs, and you're going to see why in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead, and it helps if you have a drill battery that is fully charged, and this is where I'm realizing I need to go grab the other battery. So pop the new battery in, and that works much better. So I am drilling holes down in the bottom quarter, I would guess you could say, or bottom third of my little bulbs. And I'm just measuring there to make sure that my string of lights is going to reach from one bulb to the next. This box happens to be hollow, so you can see it's got all sides except for the bottom. And so I'm going to be able to put all of my little light bulbs in the bottom. Before I do that, I'm just going to give it all like a little teeny tiny sanding around the holes, make sure that there aren't any jagged edges, nothing sticking out, and then I'll go in and I'm going to do the same thing on the inside. Just make sure that everything is nice and smoothed out and nothing pokey. So then I'm going to go ahead and take my little lights, and I'm going to poke all of the little light bulbs through all the way down. And there are 10 lights. This is a string from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure they're all situated and taping them down with painter's tape. You could use duct tape. I just happen to have painter's tape handy, so that's what I'm using. And just taping down all of my little wires so they don't fall out and that they don't go pushing in too far either. Hopefully you know what I mean, because I didn't want them to stick out too far, which is why I set it face down on my table as I was doing this. So you can see here all my little lights work. I think this is so cool. So once I had that situated, I pulled out my paint markers, and I am going to go ahead and start getting this all dolled up. I'm pulling out a red, I'm picking one of the two yellows, I've got a green that I selected, a blue, and then a purple. And then I'm also going to be grabbing my brown. I decided I wanted to use, and black, sorry. So I'm going to do my words first apparently. So I am tracing that pencil line that I made earlier with my Arteza black paint marker, and I'm just doing my faux calligraphy. So I'm doing my letters, and then I'm going back and thickening out the areas where you would consider it to be a down stroke. So if you are interested in hand lettering and want me to do a video in real time, because remember, this is all sped up when I do this. It's sped up by about 3 times because I do not want to bore you guys. But if you are interested in a video specific on hand lettering where I would do it in real time, leave me a comment and let me know that, and I'll be happy to do it. But now I do have my brown paint marker, and that's what I'm using for my string for my lights, as well as the little nubbies, the base parts of the light bulbs. So I guess I could have used silver for that, but I just went ahead and used my brown, thinking it was part of the light string. And then I'm going in and I'm alternating my colors with my lights. These are just little Christmas lights, and I'm alternating them the way that I imagine they would be lined up on this string of lights. And once I had those all done, I can turn it on, and I've got my little Christmas lights all lit up. I love this. Let me know what you think. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a collaboration with my sweet friend Jackie from Jackie Burns Creations. She was one of my very first supporters when I started my channel. I absolutely love her. Please go check out her video. The link is in the description box. DIY number 2. So this is xTOOL by MakeBlock. I am so excited, you guys. The MakeBlock team sent this to me to try out. I'm going to use it on some basswood. So this is a little box that my sister had picked up for me at Michael's last season. And this tool is actually a laser engraver. It's really, really neat. So you do have to put it together yourself, but it's flexible and it cuts on a bunch of different types of materials. I am still learning it, but right here you can see it's got this little drop foot, and that helps you measure where the laser should be. So it has a little tightener there on the side that I'm loosening that allows you to slide it up and down. You drop it down so that that little metal foot hits your work surface, tighten it up, and then you can go ahead and flip that little foot back up. I am doing this in real time right now so you can see. And now your laser is exactly positioned where it needs to be. So then I'm going to go in and I am going to create something real quick in Canva so you can see exactly what I'm doing. This is fancy. This is a new skill I've learned to show you my phone screen. So I'm looking for a Christmas tree, and I went ahead and I wanted to find something that was going to be more of an outline because I didn't want it to be too dense for the laser cutter. So looking at all the different little Christmas trees, I finally selected this one here. And then I went and looked for some fonts that I wanted to use. So I found this one that was set up as farm to table, and I'm just going to go in and change the words. And I'm going to do farm fresh Christmas trees. So just changing out what they had there as their basic text. If you're not familiar with Canva, it is free software. They do have a subscription level as well, but they have free software that has tons of options for you. I think of it as a really simple program for people to do graphic design if they're not a graphic designer. But at any rate, you saw I got that all designed. I downloaded it. I'm going to bring it into my Laserbox app. And this is what works with the xTOOL. So I'm selecting basswood. I'm checking out their table. It tells me exactly what settings I need to use for what I want to do. I don't want to cut all the way through this. I'm going to be engraving this. So I just want to make sure I have my settings set. And once I did that, I can click on that framing and it shows me the area that it's focused on. So I can go ahead and adjust this and keep hitting framing until I have it where I want it. and then I hit that silver little button down there and it goes and it is off to the races. Now this is sped up right now, but in a moment I'm going to show you in real time. So this is real time. So you can see it just goes right to work and it is so cool. I think this is the neatest thing. It will also engrave on larger projects. You probably saw how large this frame is. It also has extension feet, so if you have a larger project that you can set the machine up kind of over top of it. It does round objects, so I'm going to at some point be engraving Rich's Yeti because he's asked me to add his name to that, and they sent me the little roller tool that helps you do that. So as soon as I figured that out, I'll share it with you as well. And if you're interested in seeing behind the scenes and how I actually set this machine up, I am going to have a video out on Come On Over with Corie on my other channel where I show you exactly how I set it up, and I show you my very first test project so you can kind of see how I did it. And it really wasn't all that difficult. So they have great pictures which that go along with the instructions and videos that show you exactly how to put things together, and I found that super helpful. But look at this. How fun is that? I love it. Okay, so I was tempted to just leave it like that because I thought it was really, really cool, but ultimately, I decided to come in with some of my antique wax, and I am just kind of distressing it. I was like, you know what, maybe I won't touch the part that I lasered, but then I was like, you know what, I'll give it a really light coat, and it actually turned out really nice, so I did that. And then I came in with a dry brush with my white Adirondack, dress it up a little bit more, and then I decided I was going to finish it off with some twine. Now, if you are interested in learning more about the xTOOL, I'm going to have some more information on that in my description box. I'll also have a link out to their website so you can check out the xTOOL and some of their other products if that's of interest to you. So tied that off over down along the side, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing around the top, but I'm going to tie the other knot over on the other side. Trim that off, and that's it. DIY number 3. Okay, I have some more leftover paint stick pieces that we're going to be using for this project. And I am starting out by cutting off the little part where it starts getting narrower, so the handle part. I just want the straight edges that are left over on this. And I do want the, do you call that a beveled edge? The angled edge. So you can see here what my I thought was on what I was doing here. So I've got these all cut down in different lengths, and I'm just sanding everything off and making sure it's nice and smooth. Pulling out my Jenga pieces. I'm going to use these to create little tree trunks and stands for my trees because we're going to have these little guys standing straight up. So I'm using my Gorilla Glue wood glue, getting that all fast set up. I've got a little bit that I'm squirting out onto my parchment paper, and I'm just kind of dragging my edge through there and adding a little bit of hot glue. I am not mixing those glues. It might have looked like I dragged it through there, but I was not dragging it through my wood glue. I keep the glue separate so that it doesn't interfere with the bond. The wood glue is super, super strong, but it does take a good 15 minutes at least for it to set up. And so I got all of my pieces glued together, and then I'm going to go ahead and work on the little stand for it. So adding some more glue to the base there, and I'm going to go ahead and add my little tree. So just making sure that it all is good. And you can see it already kind of stands up on its own, but it is definitely going to get knocked over easily if I bump it. So I want to make sure that I'm creating a little stand. And I'm just using 4 more of the Jenga blocks to kind of fashion around the base. Kind of like a windmill shape, if you will. So once I had those all in place, I went ahead and came in one at a time with my wood glue. And you're going to see in a second I did end up bumping it, but you're going to see I'll be able to put it right back together again. So one at a time, just making sure that I'm gluing all the pieces down and getting it all set and secure. Oh, there you go. So no harm, no foul. It's all good. So I got that all squeezed together and it was fantastic. I did the same thing with the other little tree. And once I had those all set, I just went ahead and set them aside to let them dry so that I wouldn't end up breaking them. Once they were dry, I went ahead and grabbed my celery chalk paint and my moss chalk paint, and I'm giving each tree a dry brush of one color or the other. So one tree is the celery and the other tree is the moss, and just using a very dry brush technique with this. I just wanted to give them a little bit of color, have them look somewhat rustic, and I just thought they were so cute. But I wanted to have a little finishing touch on top of each tree. So I grabbed my twine and I just twirled it around my fingers a bunch of times. If I had to guess, I didn't count, but I'm guessing maybe 12, 15 times. And then I tied it off in the middle, making a teeny tiny little finger bow basically. And then I was just trying to kind of pull all the little loops apart a little bit, spread them out, trimmed it off. I made a second one so that I would have 2, one for each tree. There's the second one. And then I just used a little bit of hot glue and attached them to my treetops, just like that. And I think these are so sweet, but let me know what you think. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Beautiful, Joseph. This ornament is so pretty. Great job. And gorgeous, Sarah. I am loving these hoop designs that you've been coming up with. And cute, Carol. Look at the little village and the snowman inspired by something I did. And great, Janet. She used the water slide decals. Love it. Pretty Laura. Some really gorgeous crafts. And nice, Harriet. These are all so great. Thank you so much for sharing. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, please send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. So I'm cheating a little bit on this one because this wood has already got white on it, and Jackie and I were supposed to be using raw wood for these projects, so hopefully, Jackie, please forgive me, because I've had this in my stash and it was the perfect size for what I wanted to do. So I did go ahead and paint the rest of it white. I gave it a dry brush a little bit to just make sure it had kind of that texture of the paint on all surfaces, and I measured off the middle and knocked in a nail, and then I'm just going to continue to bang in nails here in the shape that I want. And you know, it's kind of funny, as I was doing this, it didn't occur to me that it was impacting my camera, and so you can see my camera kind of moving as I am doing this, and eventually I was like completely out of the frame, so forgive me in advance. But Essentially, you can see here, I am creating little Christmas tree shapes with these nails. I am going to be doing string art with different types of baker's twine and regular twine. And I had seen some of these online. I'm trying to remember where I saw them. They might have been on Etsy or oh my goodness, Pinterest. I'm not sure, to be quite honest with you, but I had seen them and I thought, you know what, that'd be so fun to try. Now, I've never done this before. This is a brand new thing for me, so I do not know if there is a method to how you should do this. I was just kind of doing it the way I thought might work. So I came in first with this green twine. This is the same twine that I had used on the Farm Fresh Christmas trees project, and I'm just kind of going with a kind of a cute pattern going on a diagonal across the tree, and then came back up and did the opposite diagonal, and I thought it looked pretty cute. Now, if you have done this before and you know that there is a process for certain patterns, leave me a comment and let me know, because I really would like to learn how you're supposed to do this if I'm doing it wrong. But I went ahead and worked my way back up to the top where I'd started. I tied off my ends together and then I tucked them down underneath after I trimmed it off a little bit. So got that all in there. And then I went on to the next tree. So I'm using a different color here. You can see it's a green and white baker's twine that I used on that little tree, and it's got a different shape to it, and I kind of went out from the middle to do the branches. So everything kind of came out from the middle on this one, and just worked my way around and around. These nails have little heads on them, which help to grab the twine or the string or whatever it is that you're using. Now, to be honest, I used the little nails that I had in my stash. I probably could have done with nails that had a slightly larger head on them. I did struggle a little bit with making sure that my string didn't pop off, especially when I was going back over certain nails in areas where I wanted to be able to embellish, I'm going to say, my pattern that I was working on by going back to certain nails. So just keep that in mind if you decide that you want to try something like this. You probably want something with not a huge head on it, but a little bit of a head, so you're sure that it'll grab it. This was a different baker's twine. Both of these baker's twines that I was using are from the Dollar Tree, and then that twine, the one in the middle, was from burlapfabric.com. And then I'm using just a regular twine for the base of my middle tree to give it a little, I don't know if that's like a bucket that it's sitting in or if it's actually a stem. I don't know, or a trunk. I don't know. I haven't decided. But then I decided to dress up both of the sides with some more of the twine that was used for the center tree. Just wrapped that around 6 times, and then I tied it off in the back, and I did that on both sides of the project. So very simple. It did take a little bit of time to do this and a little bit of patience in some aspects, but I thought it was well worth it because I think it is super cute. But let me know what you think. DIY number 5. Now, this is going to be a quick and easy project. This is going to be a little shelf sitter. It could also be considered a mini, but I had seen some inspiration for this and I just wanted to do it. It just made my heart happy. So as you can see, I gave it a really rough coating of my crimson chalk paint. It is a little bit heavier than a dry brush, I would say. It's definitely not solid, but it's a decent coat, I would say. And now I'm coming back in with my white chalk paint a paint marker, and I am drawing. I drew at first a little circle in the middle, and now I am drawing lines through the circle, and I'm creating the foundations for a little snowflake. So I basically sliced it in half one way, sliced it in half the other way, and then just kept slicing those sections in half, so to speak. So a total of 8 spokes or 4 solid lines, depending on how you want to look at it. I went back over it a couple of times just to make sure that my white was pretty solid over top of the red, and I had waited for the red to be completely dry before I did this because I didn't want to mess up my white marker. So now I'm coming in with little tails. I don't know what you would even call these. They remind me a little bit of what you'd put on an arrow, on the tail of an arrow, right? So just little hash, little mark things. But you can dress up your snowflake however you would like. You could use little circles on it. You could have more of these little lines, whatever makes your heart happy. I'm coming in with little diamond shapes. I don't know what to call these now, that kind of fill out the middle part. So once I had my snowflake drawn, I am coming around with some twine. I'm wrapping it around just a couple of times, and I'm going to tie it off in the front, but a little off to the side. And I'm going to make a little bow as well. First I tied it off in a knot, and then I thought, you know, I'm going to make it a bow. And that's it. So simple and cute. I love it.
Okay, everybody, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the project, please give me a big thumbs up and leave me a comment and let me know which one was your favorite. It really does help my channel to grow. And remember that this was a collaboration with Jackie from Jackie Burns Creations, so I hope you'll check out her video. Let her know that I sent you and give her some love. Her link for her video is down in my description box. And until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.